For the start. So today we'll have a pretty interesting session, I hope, because generative AI is something that is well known. Everyone have heard about that, and I'm sure some of you have tried that as well. And I will share some insights based on my experience, and will also give you some ideas. What do I think about that, and what are the real use cases with generative AI for the business we are involved into? So before we will start, let me explain who am I and why I'm here. So my name is Olha Shvets. I'm the product manager at SoftServe, and I think I'm with SoftServe already for 6 or 7 years. And I started my journey as a market analyst. After that, I became business analyst. And during the last 3 years, I'm the product manager. My previous focus was on the APIs, but starting, I think, last May, I've joined the GenAI lab. This is some kind of the group within our company, and it consists from data scientists, designers, also solutions architects, and many more other roles of the clever people within our company. And our task is to identify the GenAI use cases, promote them, find some real clients, real problems, and identify those solutions using this technology in order to help them. And that's why I'm, based on that experience that I had during the last year, I can treat myself as some kind of promoter of GenAI overall. And I will try to give you some food for thoughts. And I will hope that this session will be some kind of a trigger for you to switch your mind into the GenAI focus if you haven't done that yet. So we will start with some kind of the GenAI introduction and definitions in order to explain you the basic, because we all have to be on the same place. Then we will also focus on the impact, on the potential impact, and on the current impact on the market. Plus, we will speak about the product management and the change of this role because of this new emerging technology. I will also share some success stories of our real projects where I was involved into, and I will also tell about some project challenges that we are dealing with on the daily basis. For sure, we will also have some time for Q&A, and I'm planning to spend the last 10 minutes for that. And in order to understand my audience a bit better, I would like to ask you, could you please tell me where are you from? I mean, what is your position? What is the company you're working at? And also, maybe you can add the comment why you're here. That will be pretty interesting to read after the session. And the last part in the agenda, I've added some kind of the hints or tricks based on my experience. So hopefully the last few slides will be also very interesting for you. Let's start with the definition. Generative AI, well-known trend, well-known artificial intelligence. And the easiest way to explain what it's capable of is the tool, the technology that is able to create 5 types of the outcomes. That could be text, images, audio, video, 3D models. And even though this is emerging technology, but nowadays, 80% of AI-related projects are implemented using GenAI, and this is impressive. So as I mentioned, those are the top 5 applications of GenAI overall. And natural languages and source code creation are actually focused based on the large language models behind it. And, GenAI, it's not only the ChatGPT, and there are a bunch of solutions on the market. There are a bunch of the applications that are currently available for testing, for implementation, or just for driving the business. And that's why I'm showing you the GenAI Prism of those solutions available. I'm sure that you've heard about some of them, but still I like this representation in order that it actually shows the big picture and it shows the variety. I haven't tested all of them, but I will also share with you some ideas which of them might be beneficial for product manager when he or she is conducting her daily business. So let's focus on the LLMs first. in the simple words, LMs are good at three things: writing, let's say generation of text, generation of code, generation of something else. Reading, this is some kind of the vice versa approach when you're creating the summary from some big amount of information. Or chatting, and you have tried that for sure. Those chatbots, those assistants that are answering your questions, this is something brilliant. When we are explaining the LLM capabilities, we have identified few core areas from the domain agnostic standpoint. So we will not focus on some specific solution here, but those domain agnostic ideas might be applied to each and every industry, to be honest. So the first group is the easiest one. Ask questions against the existing knowledge base. So that means that I can ask the question and get the answer in order to have some support with troubleshooting, in order to find some information within huge database. Also, LM is good in summarizing. So we are speaking about market research, analysis of some legal documents, or summarizing the big amount of text overall. Also, information extraction, when we have to grab some specific details from the big amount of data. And similarity search, I really like this one. So that is about finding the matches, finding the trends, or identifying some competitor analysis details on some use case. Also, the more advanced group is when we have to derive the insights from this knowledge. So it's not only about finding that, but also analyzing that and reasoning that in order to diagnose the problem, identify the root cause, create some kind of the logical chain of the conclusions based on that. Also, the next idea here would be the content classification, when you can segmentize, group, or actually identify some kind of the logic behind those groups. Sentiment analysis is very well-known use case, or some topic recognition, let's say. And the last group in this list would be when we are generating new data based on this knowledge. So this is even more advanced, in my opinion, thing. So this is about the conversation, when we are capable to create the content, and this content might be not only in text format, that could be also the code, for example. On the knowledge translation is also within this group. Let's then try to spend a few more minutes to discuss the impact of the generative AI on the market overall. And I would like to start with this statistic that I found. So, the last year brought us the overall revenue, or the market size, market share, was $36 billion. And within the next 6 years, that number will be multiplied by 10. The estimated size of the market in a few years will be 356 billion. This is huge. And in order to get there, the compound annual growth rate that is calculated is almost 50%. That's 46. So this is pretty impressive. And because of that, each and every company on the market are thinking about how to apply GenAI to my business, how to get extra benefits because of that. And we also know that most of the clients have already thought about that. A lot of the companies have already tried some ideas, and our role here is to support them within this journey. So the benefit that we see that GenAI can bring to the business overall, that's the list that's mentioned here. It can easily help with the process optimization. It can also support with reducing the cost or increasing operational efficiency. We can also increase customer satisfaction. We can also support with smart decision making, with accelerating innovations, or just support with creating the personalization overall that will also cause the improvement of customer satisfaction in the end. Still, that was pretty generic. Let's focus on some real examples from the market. And I was trying to find something from different areas and some ideas, some solutions from the well-known businesses, and let's review them here. The first use case would be for Samsung. they're actually using the GenAI for text summarization and for organization or magical image editing. And that's already a production-ready solution that they are using. Uber is actually supporting their employees to be more productive during the work. So they have some kind of the employee assistant to support them during their journey. Procter and Gamble uses some tool that is actually helpful to create the photorealistic images and creative assets. So they're using that as a creative assistant. And Commerzbank is actually supporting their developers with some code assists copilot. And there is some similarity of those 4 use cases, even though they're from different domains, the different application of the GenAI overall. But all of those use cases are in the form of some assistant and support. And this is very important thing because the impact on the product management potential might be very similar. Let's think about that all together. You know, when preparing this presentation, I was also trying to find some logic and some arguments in order to explain you my way of thinking. So you all are familiar with this representation that product management is somewhere in the middle between those 3 important areas. And still, GenAI impacts user experience as well. It can personalize the user experience a lot. Also, GenAI can support the designers in the creation of the wireframes or designs, so that helps them a lot. And GenAI can optimize the interfaces. It can also analyze the user experience and suggest some practical insights and ideas. From the technical standpoint, GenAI also influences that a lot because that actually this is some kind of the new technology with its own limitations, with its own rules and its own capabilities. So that means that there are some specific third-party availables right now, or we can develop our own LLM model, for example, to support this or that use case. And from the business standpoint, there are a bunch of ideas how we can use GenAI. So we can use it as a new revenue source that can provide us new business opportunities, and overall that can optimize internal processes a lot. Or external functionality might be also developed with that. And I was also trying to apply those ideas on my position as a product manager. And my conclusion was that there are 2 major groups how GenAI impacts product managers. The first one is actually the impact on the way we do our job. That means that we can use GenAI tools as some kind of the assistants to increase our personal efficiency or personal productivity. And the other way, and the other part of that is that the focus of our job is also impacted by GenAI because we have to know the GenAI capabilities to enable our clients, our products, our projects with new business opportunities caused by GenAI and enabled by GenAI. So I was also trying, to summarize how I'm using GenAI and what are the tasks where generative AI can help me with my daily job. And on the left side, you see some ideas like research, summarization, clusterization, documents creation, data analysis, or also, I know that the colleague of mine, Ihor, is always mentioning that he is using ChatGPT, for example, as a copilot during the brainstorming. And this is brilliant because it's really some kind of the friend that can support you within your ideation process. Also, GenAI can definitely help with marketing materials generation. This is for sure. This is the task when I'm always using such solutions to help me. When I was also trying to create some kind of the holistic map and assess those steps that we are doing on the daily basis from the standpoint when and how applicable GenAI is for those steps. And I'm referring to this graph or table on the right side of the screen with some key product management activities. And based on my experience, I was trying to rate them. So I'm sure that generative AI is very helpful when we're doing the researches. This is about marketing researches, customer researches, competitive researches, and many more. In order to get some insight from product performance, that's also feasible, but I wouldn't count on generative AI only. If we can speak about the analysis itself, so segmentation is a brilliant idea to use generative AI. We can also use that, when we need to create the business case, because it is very helpful tool for some specific inputs, but I wouldn't let some copilot to substitute me here for sure. The same is related to the propositioning. Based on my experience, GenAI is not very good in roadmaps and pricing creation. Still, there are some more ideas how we can apply it, for example, when we are creating the designs or when we are creating some marketing materials or sales materials. And this is just my estimates. Maybe you would say some other, your rating might be different for sure, but still, at least for those that are marked in green, please check that. I think you will be surprised if you haven't tried that yet. Also, to make this session as effective and as productive for you as possible, I was creating the list of the top tools to try. I cannot say that all of them are brilliant. For sure, you've used ChatGPT. Gemini is also brilliant because it allows you to use the same tool for image generation, for text generation, for information aggregation from the table. So this is great. There are some ideas which tools we can use for market research, and I'm referring to Consensus, to Agent GPT. Grammarly is the well-known, I hope, tool for Ukrainians, because that helps a lot for proofreading and editing the content from the grammar standpoint. Some other ideas that what tools might be beneficial when we have to create the meeting transcript. Fireflies works pretty good, and vice versa when we have to transform the text to speech. Speechify is on the marketplace that is free of charge and you can easily use it. There is some tool for hypothesis creation, and I'm not sure I'm very satisfied with it, but maybe I was using that in the wrong way, so I encourage you to try. And from the design standpoint, this is visually AI is pretty interesting from my experience, because it provides you pretty huge amount of the templates that you can reuse. And also overall, that's very similar to Figma, but that doesn't require deep understanding and deep maturity in design to create some draft. And also AirFocus is a tool that is positioning themselves for product management support. Not sure I like this experience, but maybe I was using that for the wrong tasks. That's why please check that and share your feedback with me after that. And for example, based on my research, the Consensus is the tool that is actually summarizing the information from multiple places, from multiple data sources or articles, let's say, and it's providing some consensus, some summary. And the question that I asked today morning was, does generative AI the correct tool to enhance product management efficiency, and is it overall capable to do so? And the answer was positive for sure. So I hope I convinced you in that as well, and you will also try to use some of those tools on your daily basis. Still, to explain that GenAI is not the tool that will substitute me or you, I was also looking for some reasoning behind why we will still be important on the market as professionals. There are some subset of the tasks or of the activities or soft skills that will not be changed, that will still have a lot of the impact of human overall. And those are mentioned here. And I'm referring to stakeholder management, because I do not think that we will be able to substitute humanity with the technology in stakeholder management overall. Or in empathy while we are conducting user research. That's impossible. The same is related to the leadership and team collaboration. Also for product evangelism and communication. Those are our soft skills that we are pretty mature in right now, I hope, and that we can use in order to grow as professionals and also in order to bring the value while we are conducting product management activities. Also, some of other facts that will not be changed. This is the identification of a problem in need of a solution, because you know that for sure that even though the client came to us with the question, with the ask that I need the solution, that's not always the right solution for them, because we have to analyze the real need, the real business need and motivation behind that. And adaptability and creativity, those are also brilliant ideas that will not be changed. And even though we can use generative AI solutions or tools as a co-pilots and also as an assistance for creativity, for example. But this adaptability, this is something that I really believe that will stay with us humans, and we can be sure that we will stay on the market. Let them focus on the domain opportunities that becomes available because of this technology. So together with the leaders from my Center of Excellence group, product managers and business analysts, we created actually the most prominent use cases for different domains, and also we validated them with the business representatives. And I've added also the link to this presentation, and we will share that as well. And you can check that in more details on our website. But from the holistic standpoint, there are for sure some brilliant use cases for each and every market. We just need to find them, because the value that virtual shopping assistant might bring to the retail is pretty huge. Also for retail banking, there is the ability to implement private banking copilot that will not substitute the person, but at least will help him or her to conduct their activities. From the standpoint of supply chain, I really like this disruption assessment use case that will help to optimize the costs and have a lot of savings for the companies. Also, some more ideas from different domains, agricultural one, ESG, and the rest of them are present here as a summary. We will not focus on that right now. I don't think we need to do that. But the primary message here will be that for each and every domain, we have the options to use this technology to bring extra value and to raise extra money for sure. And when we are ideating those use cases, we have some kind of the approach, and all of those use cases might be divided into three archetypes, into those three groups. The first one is usage of generative AI for data insights. So that means when we are helping some specific groups of the people like sales and marketing, in order to find the general information, not general, sorry, in order to find some specific information. Also, we can have some visual agents, virtual agents that could be with visual or without, like overall chatting capabilities. But still, this is for supporting the user with his or her request and providing the answer on the specific question. And the last group is most creative here. This is about the content creation that could be in the format of the text, video, and audio. So that depends on the use case itself, but overall, those three groups sounds pretty relevant for us. Some additional details here. So for data insight, that could be, for example, the enterprise search. And honestly, we are using this at SoftServe, for example, for sales group, because the amount of the case studies and documents or services is pretty huge. And they are using the tool to find some specific details. Also, we can use, for example, the customer support use case, and that could be implemented in the form of some kind of the digital assistant that is answering your questions. Or that could be also the developer support, some copilot to implement that solution itself. And that is also the tool that is improving the velocity for sure. That was the current state of the market, and still the generative AI is changing so fast that we have to run very fast to stay competitive. And we see the following four trends as the primary ones that will impact this domain in the nearest time. And the first one here is the multimodalities. I'm not sure, have you tried the Gemini so far, but I think it's brilliant. The one solution can actually support all of those modalities in one use case. So you shouldn't use right now the LLM for text analysis and text generation, the Lee for image creation, and some other tool for something else. There will be one solution that will be able to support that. That means that we'll have more broader list of the supported use cases. And those use cases, those solutions will be more and more advanced. The next trend in this list is actually the era of specialized models. And this is pretty beautiful, I think, because even right now, when we're applying the same technology to different domains, different verticals, we have to adapt the answers because the domain terms are different. Some specific of the industry is also present. And those specialized models will be actually related to the healthcare, for example, or to the retail domain. And that means that the domain terms will be already there and the maturity of the answers will be increased for sure. And for us as in business leaders, that means that for sure there will be more ideas, but also that domain expertise becomes more important. The third item in this list is about the multi-languages. National AI actually increases the support of the different languages and the maturity of the translation improves a lot. Right now, we had some issues with translations from English to Japanese or to Chinese, but with this new capabilities, that will not be a case anymore. They'll be not worried about how to implement that. That will be from scratch and by default. And the last item here is some legal restrictions that are present. They will also improve within the time. And that means for us that we have to support our partners from the governance standpoint as well. And GenAI governance offer will be more and more demanded because of those acts, policies, and other legal restrictions. Some success stories that I would like to share with you, and I consider them pretty interesting. We've been dealing with a company that was analyzing the user feedback on some products or services. And based on their AI technology that was already in place, their users were trying to find some gaps and some recommendations how to improve the product, how to improve the service. And honestly, the users were struggling to find those insights from the numbers, to find those details from some complex tables, diagrams, and the other data representation that was present within their tool. And that's why they came to us with a request, can you use chatbot capability? Can you build it for us? Because our users are struggling right now, and we want to provide them as mature recommendations as possible and also as fast as possible. We have all of the data, we just do not know how to represent them and what are the actionable suggestions that we can show and what would be the top few ideas that they can apply immediately that will also provide the highest value. And overall, this ChatGPT-like solution was pretty successful because the user experience was improved a lot. Even though all of the data were present, the simple addition to their existing tool helped to increase the customer satisfaction, that decreased the time to get insights dramatically. And also those auto suggestions from the systems that we have designed were pretty useful because the tool was starting the conversation should I help you with analysis of this or that? Or do you expect to see some recommendations from the first conversation? And that was already the quick access to the insight that they were looking for. The next use case that we had was with pretty important brand, and that brand was actually owning 36 subsidiaries behind it, and all of them had their digital departments, not digital design departments, I'm sorry. And they were creating some marketing content, or they were placing their products in the marketing materials in order to produce and in order to sell them better. And they were trying to optimize it. And they were looking for some assistant, some copilot that can be used in the following way. So they had a lot of the 3D models of their products, some creams, or I don't know, something else. And they were hoping to play in this product on some specific background. And the background had to be defined by the prompt. For example, place this cream in the middle of the New York street. And also there was a request to create the image from that or create the video based on that request. And the solution that we've developed was in the POC stage, but still that was pretty successful. And we were using stable diffusion and also Getty images to generate that, to create that background, and to show that result. The third use case in this list was the application and usage of generative AI to create some kind of the reports. And honestly, if to summarize that in the easiest format, the goal was to create BI-like results, BI-like reports, but in the simplified manner and in very quick option, with some most impactful insights, most important observations, and some suggestions as well. And that was also a brilliant use case for generative AI that solution solved this case for sure, this problem. And one of my favorite use cases of application of generative AI was with usage of sales support, AI sales assistant. That was the use case. So the company we've been dealing with is actually a huge producer of a product, of the microscopy products, and they were owning more than 60,000 products, different categories within those products. Some of them were capable to work together, some don't. So that was pretty complex environment with a lot of the marketing materials regarding those specifications, product performances, and so on and so forth. And the goal was to support the sales department of this company when they are creating the suggestions on user requests, on client's requests, I'm sorry, customer requests. And the workflow is pretty similar. They are getting some requests. I would like to use the microscopy for, I don't know, school class. And the answer from the sales group should be, please use this or that product. But how to identify which of those products is the best? This is pretty complex process overall. And the tool itself that we've developed helped them a lot. So we've improved this decision-making process and the time to get those insights dramatically. So right now they are capable to get those answers very fast. And here we will also implementing the link to the source document based on what this or that suggestion was generated. And that was also very helpful for this group because they could use this result and paste that to the response in order to suggest some pricing, to suggest some characteristics, or just add extra marketing material. That was pretty great. But still, all of those projects and all of the rest project that we have been involved into had a lot of challenges. And I was trying to summarize them here, so let's also discuss them. The first one, when there are two different clients types, the first group is willing to use generative AI, but they are not sure how and why and when and in what format. And the second group is more focused on the specific idea. That's much easier to work with the second group. And that's very complex process to define the specific use case or to define the subset of those use cases that will be enabled by generative AI technology. And there are multiple reasons for that, because I will also give you some ideas how this process might work in the most efficient way. Let's park that for now. The next problem is that even though this is emerging technology, the expectations from the clients or owners or C-level managements are very, very high. They are not ready to create the tool and push it to production in case the accuracy of the responses will be lower than 95%. And this is a big problem because with the maturity of the technology, that's very hard to achieve right now. Still, we have found some ideas how to overcome this issue. The third problem is that this is emerging technology, and that's why the focus on the initial stages, on the testing, on the POCs. So all of those use cases are definitely starting with some feasibility check, proof of concept. And that means that the chances of immediate project continuation or the MVP implementation, creation of the production-ready solution are not very high right now. This is the fact. Also, very important thing that the data sources quality impacts the results a lot. For example, with this use case that I mentioned before for sales support, we had the problem because the input data were text files in the PDF formats or in Word format, but they also included the tables. And those tables had some merged columns, rows. The structure was pretty complex. And the tool that we've been using on that moment wasn't able to analyze those data from those complex tables. And that took us some time to define the correct approach to create the solution. So we have started quick R&D process to identify what to do with this. And overall, we actually created this manipulation when we were migrating those tables to the Excel file, because that tool can work with Excel pretty good. Also, that means that the dependency on the third parties, and I mean here the actual leaders on the market who are producing LLMs or stable diffusions model, it's pretty high because it's very expensive to develop new LLM from scratch. It's more cheaper to use the existing solution, but this solution might have its own limitations. That might be the response time. It might be very, very slow, and the time to generate the response might be up to a minute. That's a lot. No one will wait so much time. That's why we had to find some ideas how to improve that as well. Legal and regulatory concerns, this is also present, and we are dealing with this because very often when the big brands are using generative AI technology for their purposes, they are willing to have the ownership of the results, to have this IP in the end. And that means that we have to suggest the correct tools for them. Accuracy and hallucinations. This is also an important problem and important fact that you're also aware of. But still there are some ideas how to mitigate that and how to increase the accuracy and decrease the hallucination chances. And from the technical standpoint, there is some complex solution, but if to explain that in the easy format, we can just check multiple times the response. And also once we've been showing the data source. We also were showing the hallucination mark, and we were explaining that this answer was most likely hallucinated. Please regenerate it, or please use it very carefully, double check that. And that worked not so bad. The security and privacy problem also is present, but there are also some ideas what to do with this, because there are different approaches how to apply GenAI for the specific company, because we can just use ChatGPT without adding any data sources. We can also imply our data source to that solution, or we can create new LLM models from scratch. And overall, if to summarize all of that, there is a very high level of uncertainty for those types of projects. That's a fact, because even though on the initial stages, when we're trying to create the solution concept and solution vision, we might be unsure if that's feasible to achieve the result, because no one have tested that before, and that's why this uncertainty is pretty high. We didn't had a failed project, to be honest. So each and every idea that we invented was feasible to be implemented, but we didn't have that assurance on the very beginning. So this is pretty hard process. And one of the major important facts here is that everyone is expecting to have quick results. And that means that the POC project duration is so tiny, it's less than 4 months in the best case scenario. Usually it's even less. And that means that we have to be very fast and we have to adapt very quickly. Still, there are some recommendations that might be useful for you that you might try on your product, projects, businesses, depending on your current role. The first idea would be, when you're dealing with generative AI solutions or use cases or products, try to create the holistic approach. Try to think what has to be done when, because of this timing limitation. And everything has to work perfectly. Each role has to be involved in the correct time, in the correct format. From the team structure, in order to produce the fastest results in the most efficient way. And also, even though you can create the POC concept pretty quickly, still that means that you have to design the overall implementation approach, which functionality will be developed. That will help you to be on time in the end, and it will increase the chances of your success overall. Also, if you have this first group of the businesses that are not sure what is the exact usage of generative AI for their business, we can start with setting the ground. We can start with explaining what generative AI is capable of, what are the domain agnostic use cases, what are the specific use cases for their domain or industry, and that will be a great starting point before ideating. Still, that's very hard to start from the tabula rasa. You have to come prepared with some specific ideas how generative AI might be applied to this or that area. And this is pretty good starting point. Also, if you're not sure what approach to use and how actually to start, you can think from different angles. You can start checking from the technical capabilities. You can also think from the business standpoint, and value chain mapping approach works pretty good, and I really like it a lot. For the simplified options, when we are speaking, I'll return to that in a moment. When we are speaking about some specific use case, user journey works pretty well. It helps to identify the GenAI solutions, and the exercise we are using on the workshops with our partners is actually the following. So we are creating some holistic user journey. We are identifying the uncovered user expectations or issues or problems on those stages. We are prioritizing those stages and then identifying the GenAI solution that might be applicable. And this is actually it. This approach helps to define the solutions, and then based on the prioritization, we can pick some of them to build the POC for that. Start with technical readiness assessment. This is pretty important thing because you have to know all of the regulatory requirements in the very beginning, because that will impact what AI solution to use. The security requirements will impact what adoption pattern to use, and the data availability will impact the feasibility of the overall use case itself, because without the data, it's impossible to create any valuable result. Let's move on. The other idea from my side would be try to decompose as much as possible, because we were struggling in the very beginning when starting such kind of the POCs that the request was from the client, the request was that I want to ask each and every question in this chatbot, and I hope that it will provide results and answers with 100% accuracy. And that's it. This is the scope. But that's not working in this way, because to get the response, we have to prompt engineer that from the technical standpoint, and we have to identify what are the data sources, what is the structure of the response, how to treat this or that phrase, question, ask, word in the request itself. And this requires a lot of the work. And that's why this detailization and decomposition works brilliant here. Even though there are some ideas and areas how to apply generative AI, we have to define what are the typical questions that have to be answered, what are the databases for this to create the answers for those typical questions, in what formats are they stored, and do we need to support any additional setup, or for example, do we need to support some customization of this question when we are specifying some limits of the amount of data or of the timing, so on and so forth. All of that is pretty important in order to be successful in the result. And this is also some kind of the format of managing expectations. Because when you're doing that previous exercise, you're also setting the limitations and you're defining what is out of scope, and that helps a lot. And don't break the rules. This is the insight that I've actually get from practice, because everyone has tried ChatGPT and everyone is expecting to be able to write the answer. Everyone is expecting to get the starting invitation message from the chat. And there are some specific rules on the area, like the list of chats has to be present, so on and so forth. And you have to follow them when you're creating generative AI solutions. Managing clients' expectations is pretty important here, so you have to educate them a lot. And the summary of that would be that the adoption is the key here, because the technology changes on the daily basis and the circumstances are changing also very quickly. So if to summarize those 10 rules of success, I think that we have the primary one: you have to balance and you have to adapt in order to become successful in the end. And my summary would be pretty short. So this is the fact: AI and generative AI specifically will be on place, will be on the market, and it will be integrated into the current business processes, tools a lot. And if we're treating ourselves as the one who are driving the business to success, that means that we have to know how to apply that, and we have to live under those circumstances. And that means that we have to learn more. We have to be open to those experiments, and we have to encourage our business to those results. But still, we have to be ready to those unexpected results in the end, and we have to adapt to those circumstances. So I'm sure you know this phrase from Alice book, because this is something that pretty correlates with me well when we are talking about GenAI. We have to run so fast within this world right now to stay competitive on the market. And generative AI might be treated as an helper here, as an advisor, as an assistant that will help us to become better. And I do not believe that me or you will be fired because of generative AI technology. But I think we might, because of not adopting that technology while the others did, while they become more effective. So hopefully that will not be our case. Thank you so much. Let's have the Q&A time. The first question was how GenAI projects looks from the outsourced company side. If we're doing MVPs, POCs to scale the project, our clients come with approximate request. Yeah, and I think I've answered that already. There are two types of the clients. The first one are trying to use GenAI to become better in whatever format. And the other option would be when they are coming with some specific idea and we are forming that. Also, there could be a case when we are explaining that this idea will not work. Let's select the other one. But overall, there are two different maturity stages so far. Start with the blank, with the starting point, or analyze the existing idea. Also, the question was, let me read that out loud, what process delivery model methodology should be followed in delivering generative AI projects? What documents have to be created, requirements documents, test cases. Usually you have agile delivery methodology and related artifacts are generated. How does it change for GenAI projects? From the process standpoint, I'm not sure if this is if we see a lot of the difference. There's still the product management or there is still business analysis work, but maybe the complexity has to be enhanced, not enhanced, but changed a bit because of the short time frames. Still, for GenAI POCs, I'm creating WBSs. I'm also creating the business cases, and we can create the summary report that will include architecture, infrastructure, roadmap, and solution evolution as well. So the artifacts actually are not changing a lot. This will be the short answer. How can I become GenAI product manager in the SoftServe? This is a pretty interesting question. Because I think that the best idea would be to start being the product manager, and then you can apply that technology to the project you're working on right now, to the business you're in right now, or to the client you're dealing with right now. Because this is the easiest way. You're the owner, you're the driver of the success here. And it means that you still have some ideas how to apply generative AI for that business you're in. And you can start with those domain agnostic ideas, or you can also identify some specific. You can conduct the research using the tools that I've suggested. And that would be a great starting point to check that, to try that. So that would be the easiest way, in my opinion. Try with it right now. Don't wait to be hired as GenAI product manager, because I think that would be probably too loud to say that I've invented this profession. But for me, I wasn't treated like that. This was something that I had to learn on fly when conducting the discoveries regarding GenAIs, when creating multiple decks for pre-sales activities, or when I was involved into the POC implementation of those use cases. And one more question from Lubo. It's so nice to see you here. In addition to legal consideration, have you heard any other constraints or pain points from customers that they struggle with when adopting GenAI? Cost, skill set, infrastructure, ethical? Yep, all of them are there. What is your prediction for GenAI in the next 1 to 2 years? Do you expect to see a boom of new products built with GenAI, or do you think the hype will calm down? Me personally, I truly believe in generative AI technology, and I think that that's not the end. That's just the beginning, because the technology is changing daily and the maturity is growing so fast that even today I was checking the Gemini model for the first time, because I knew that this was announced, but I haven't had the chance to check it. And this is brilliant. It works awesome. And that means that there will be more and more ideas how to apply it. But the crucial moment here will be that when the business will be able to see real results from the revenue standpoint, And that will be the most important thing. If we will help the business to use GenAI technology to gain extra revenue, that will definitely be a huge boom that will be the starting point for this boom. Otherwise, there might be decline, but I truly believe in the first option. What resources, blogs to use to stay in the loop of AI growth? No idea, there are a lot of them. And I wouldn't mention one resource here, unfortunately. Still, we are posting a lot of interesting materials on our website, and I think we will share that here as well. Do you write prompts when working on POCs, or you have a separate person that fine-tunes test prompts? I'm not the one who's the prompt engineer. We have the very mature data science group who are doing that. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for today. That was a pleasure to have you here, and I really hope that you enjoyed the session too, and you will start to use generative AI for your personal work or maybe for your business. And please share with me the success story that you will be able to achieve in the end. Thank you so much.